mitzvah. Next unique mitzvah that we have, that we learn in this parasha, is that we have the mitzvah of the Sotah. The Sotah, where it says, Daber el bnei Israel. This is in chapter 5, verse number 11 and on. וידבר אדוני משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל ואמרת עליהם איש איש, כי תסטה אשתו ומעלה בו מעל, ושכב איש אותה שכבת זרע ונעלם מעיני אישה ונסתרה והיא נטמעה, ועד אין בה, והיא לא נתפסה. So here we have the whole story and the whole teachings of the Isha Sotah. What is the Isha Sotah? Isha Sotah is a wayward woman that is suspected of being an adulteress. She's not known for sure, but she made enough bad decisions that she's now suspected of committing adultery on her husband. And here we have a connection to one of the other things that this parasha said in the same chapter, but verse number 8, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu says that when he was talking about a man and a woman that will not commit, who will commit from among the many sins of man, and by committing falsehood, Rashi says this falsehood is also connecting to being a Sotah. Why is it falsehood being a Sotah? Well, for obvious reasons. If she already cheated on her husband, she committed adultery, then obviously that's falsehood. But Rashi says, no, even before you know whether she is a committed adultery or not, she's already guilty of committing falsehood. She's already guilty of committing falsehood, and that's the reason why even if she doesn't end up getting the death penalty in the end, because she didn't actually commit the actual sin itself of intimacy with a man that's not a husband, still she goes through a punishment process. In fact, Onkelos says over here that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling Moshe and Aaron, speak to the children of Israel and say to them that any man whose wife will go astray from the ways of modesty and commit falsehood against him by associated with another man, and a man will possibly have lain with her, a lying seed, but it will be hidden from her husband's eyes, and he suspects her because she becomes secluded with another man, and she is possibly defiled, but there's no witness against her who testifies that she actually committed adultery, and she has not been seized against her will. So now, the Torah is telling us that a woman is married, Jewish woman is married, and she has violated the Torah. How did she violate the Torah? By violating the laws of Yichud and secluding herself with another man. That other man can be her cousin, it could be her co-worker, it could be her boss, it could be some strange guy from the store, and she decides to go into a room with him. Doesn't necessarily need to have a bed. It doesn't necessarily need to be in a house. It could be in an office. It could be it could be even in her own house. And she secludes herself in that room, and no one really knows what happened in there. No one has a proof that she actually laid with that man, because even though for the law to be for her to get punished, there has to be proof for sure that she made that sin, and you typically need two witnesses to tell you that. In this particular case, even if there is only one witness that says, yeah, I saw her actually commit the act with this guy, she's forever forbidden to her husband. He doesn't even bring it to the Kohen. That's it. They're immediately divorced. They're immediately done. But that's after she was warned. After she's warned, don't do it, and she ignores her husband, and there's a witness that sees or even if she wasn't warned, but there's a witness that sees that she laid with another man, even if it's one, that says she's forbidden to her husband. Now, if there's two witnesses, then it's the end of the story. But what happens if there's no witnesses? And we're living in a time where there's no cameras that are digital cameras that you buy for $300. No, here the only camera is a Kadosh Baruch Hu. So the Torah says, our husband warned her not to be secluded with this with any man, with this man, and she ignores him, and she's secluded with him again. And after that, her husband really doesn't know what's right or left. He doesn't know if she cheated on him or if not. All he knows is that she's being disrespectful, and all he knows is that she already violated the Torah, even if she didn't commit the actual final act with this other man, by violating the laws of modesty and by secluding herself with this other man. They were not only working in the same company, and they were not only working in the same office, but they closed the door and nobody else was able to enter. And there's only two of them. This is a very serious problem, even if he's our boss and even if he is a cousin. It's a very serious problem. This is also sometimes, what a lot of people don't know, is that if, let's say, there's a second marriage, or there's a marriage where somebody brings kids into the marriage, they have to know that the laws of Yichud apply to them also, meaning that child that you have from a different woman, he is, let's say, a 16, 17-year-old boy, he can't stay home with your new wife in the house and you're on some trip to some other country for a few days. You have a very serious problem there. We had Baruch Hashem, a young student, and said, listen, I go and I visit my grandparents often, and because I work near where they live, and sometimes, my grandfather does a lot of business, and he travels. Sometimes I stay at his house, and he leaves for a couple of days, and I'm left in his house for, let's say, for the week, but I'm only there with his new wife. She's not my grandmother. Am I allowed to do it? I said, absolutely not. Why? First of all, she's not your grandmother. You have laws of Yichud there. Not allowed to be there. Now, you don't have to go tell him, listen, Grandpa, I can't do it. No, stay quiet. Just find yourself a different place. You don't have to make a whole big deal out of it. You don't have to do a whole show out of it. Tell him, oh, I'm sinning. No, simply, you realize you're not allowed to do it. You realize that your grandfather or whoever is not going to be at the house. Okay, you're not going to be at the house either. You're not going to be at the house either. You're going to go sleep somewhere else. Go find yourself a hotel. Go find yourself a different house. Bottom line is, don't put yourself in that circumstance. Male or female. But now if the female does it, in the times of the Torah here, and there's no witnesses of what happened, she has to go and be brought to the Kohen. Now the end result, perhaps many of us have already heard, that after they go through the whole procedure at the Bet HaMikdash, with the Kohen Gadol, takes her and tries to convince her to admit that she committed a crime, that she really did lay with this man, and if she refuses to admit it, either because she really didn't, or because she's afraid of what the consequences would be, then the last step is that he gives her this special bitter waters that the Onkelos calls the bitter water that causes curse. Not the cursed water, but the bitter water that causes curse. What's the difference? If they're cursed water, then chas v'shalom, you're giving her something that's bad for her. But these are not bad waters. These waters have the name of a Kadosh Baruch Hu in them. They only cause the curse that's inside you if you let that curse inside you. Meaning, if this other strange man's seed is inside you, it'll cause that curse to come out by, in essence, blowing you up. And you're going to die. Now, this is not because anyone wants to curse you. This is because you brought the curse onto yourself. Now, this is the last step. This is the last step. That if she cheated on her husband and she doesn't want to admit it, and she gets to the final step and she drinks this special water, she dies on the spot. What happens? The water ends up fulfilling the words of the Kohen, which he says that if you did cheat on your husband, these waters that cause a curse shall enter your innards, to cause your innards to distend, and your thighs to disintegrate, and the woman shall say, Amen, Amen. Meaning, I'm telling you what's going to happen if you cheated on your husband. These waters will bring that curse out, expose it. You're going to blow up and die. And before you drink it, say Amen. Meaning that you agree to these terms. Or you could simply admit you cheated. And that way, you're not going to drink the water. But also, you're not going to stay married. Because you're not allowed to stay married to your husband if you cheated on him. Not even if it's one time. Even if it's one time. Even if it's like, oh, I was drunk. No such thing. You cheated on him, finished, end. So, the key is that the Kohen is trying to do everything possible to eliminate killing this woman. He doesn't want to kill this woman. Even though she made a sin, it's a crime, it's horrendous, it's atrocious, whatever you want to say, she's still a daughter of God that he wants her to stay alive. And therefore, there's a whole process that if you go into the Gemara Masechet Sotah, it's page 15 and on, goes through the whole process. And one of the most shocking parts of this process is that what happens is that initially the Kohen walks her around the Bet HaMikdash. There are a bunch of people, the whole community is there watching this. It's not like a one-on-one thing, or there's just her and her husband and maybe a few other rabbis. The whole community is invited to watch this. You're asking yourself, why? It's embarrassing. Exactly. Why should I embarrass her if I don't even know if she's a criminal yet? Wait 1 second. Not only does he walk her around and tire her out to try to say, okay, listen, we're going to keep walking. Come on, tell me the truth. Did you cheat? Did you cheat? Did you cheat? No. Okay. Continues to walk her around, tire her out. She doesn't want to do it. The Gemara says, after trying to talk tough to her, trying to get her out of it, trying to get the words out of it, because she doesn't want her to drink the water. If you're already in this stage that your husband suspects you of doing it, either you're married to a psychopath that's jealous for no reason, or you committed a big crime. Now it says, if she didn't commit the final crime, then what happens? Our husband is obviously, is he in the right or is he in the wrong? Conclusion is that actually he's still in the right. He's still in the right. Not right about her cheating, but her violating the Torah. Why? Because she put herself in a situation by secluding herself with another man. That in itself is a violation of the Torah. She put herself in an immodest position. It's like a woman today walks around immodest, and she's surprised as a bunch of guys don't care that she's married. She put herself in a position where she's flirting with all types of people, and she's surprised that one of them asked her on a date, even though she's married with kids. A person can't put themselves in a position and that is in essence opening the doors for the Satan to enter and then scream foul, oh no, I didn't mean that, I was just kidding, I was just being nice. No, you have to understand, you're immodest in speech, in clothing and so on. You are already committing a crime, that even if you don't make the final crime, you still actually get punished. Now of course, if a woman did not make that final crime, she does end up getting some type of a blessing, where if she wasn't able to bring kids, Rabbi Akiva says she's not going to be able to bring a kid to the world. If she was barren, she's not able to bring a kid to the world. But still, even though you're going to say, well, that's great, she's able to bring a kid to the world, she wasn't able to bring a kid, but still you have to also know what the process is to get to that point. That you realize that no normal woman would actually do this unless she did commit a crime. Meaning that final step and that first step that I told you is not all that there is. The first step of trying to talk to her into it, pressure her, talk to her, get the truth out of her without going to the final step, that's the first step. Last step is drinking the water. If she's guilty, she dies. She's not guilty, she gets the blessing. But nonetheless, she's still considered a sinner. Why? Because she secluded herself. Now what's the middle process? There's two major things the Gemara says. One, and this is in order, is that after she is not convinced to tell the truth, he rips her shirt and exposes her chest to everybody that's there. The entire community. We're not talking about just ladies. We're not talking about just men. We're not talking about just scholars. Laymen, scholars, everyone is there. The whole community is there, is watching this. And not only is she already being spoken about in such a way, and everybody says, possible adulteress, Sotah, Sotah, Sotah. Now, they expose her private part, expose her chest. And that's not it. After he does this, he asks her again, did you cheat on your husband? Did you commit the action? Did you lay with this other man? If she still says no, then he does the final step before the last step, which is he takes her kisui rosh, her mitpachat on her rosh. There's no wigs back then. He takes that mitpachat and he takes it off. And he exposes her hair to everybody that's there. Now, in our logic, in the year 5782, 2022, according to their calendar, this seems illogical. What do you mean? Shouldn't the horrible exposing our chest part be the last part, even worse than the water? No. According to the Torah, no. Why? Because, Rabotai Karim, the hair of a woman signifies more beauty than even other parts of her body. So much so that it's considered her almost the highest level of nakedness aside from the last part that you already know. A married woman's hair, seeing it is like seeing her private part. It's more exotic. It's more horrendous to look at that than the other part. Not chas v'shalom to allow the other parts to be looked at, but to understand a Kadosh Baruch Hu's mindset here is that he's telling you, you put yourself in a bad situation. You brought the embarrassment onto yourself by embarrassing your husband and embarrassing yourself with that act. Now you're going to go through a whole process, even if you didn't lay with this man. And the ultimate embarrassment is not even exposing the chest, but rather exposing the hair. Why exposing the hair? Because when you secluded yourself with this strange man, you acted like you were a single woman. You didn't act like you were a mother of 3 children or 4 children. You didn't act like you were married for the last few months. You didn't act like you're a grandmother. You didn't act like you were a Bat Israel that is connected to a Ben Israel. You acted like you are just alone, single lady, looking for somebody to marry. Since you acted that way, let the world see you that way. And surely they can't see you that way if you have a kisui rosh on, because that's the number one sign of whether a lady is married or not. Number one way to know whether this lady is married or not is if she covers her hair. More than anything else, number one way to know if she's married or not, she have a kisui rosh on. Unfortunately, today with our many sins, we have many married ladies either not covering their hair at all, or they walk around and you can't tell if they're covering their hair because their wig looks better and more real than their real hair. And unfortunately, as Rav Shpadron, one of the greatest chachamim in the world of jewelry in the last 100 years, an extraordinary mezakeh rabim, cried to his audience in Yerushalayim and says, why do women want to look like the Sotah? It's not like they're emulating Sarai Menu. It's not like they're emulating the Chana. They're not emulating any of the tzadikot. Who are they emulating? Who is the only one in the Torah that's mentioned that shows her hair? The Sotah, the woman that's considered a wayward woman. Even if she didn't lay with the man, that's not her husband. She's still considered a Sotah. Why? because you acted like a single lady. Rav Shpadron asks, why do you want to look like this lady and show your hair? The number one sign of a married lady, number one sign of a Bat Yisrael that's married, number one is covering your hair. It's even more private. Your hair is even more private than your upper part of your body. So here we see, Rabotai, something completely against all logic of modern day. But the reality is, there's only a single truth. And that truth has been the same truth since HaKadosh Baruch Hu wrote it in the Torah. 974 generations before he created the world. That truth never changed, despite the times. As one of our 13 principles of faith is that the Torah does not change. The Torah does not change, regardless of what society today tells you. A Jewish woman that's married must cover her hair with a mitpachat, with a hat. She must cover her hair. To go around showing your hair to people is in essence antithetical, not only to the Torah, but to your own marriage. And although this may be the opposite of what your local community is telling you and what everybody apparently has an opinion about, it's been true for the last 974 generations before the world was created and since then. And it only started changing with society over the last couple of hundred years, especially the last 50 years. So if it was true for nearly 1,000 generations, thousands of years, how can you say that that truth changed without being an absolute heretic and saying that the Torah changed? The reality is, Rabotai, is HaKadosh Baruch Hu commanded us to fulfill the Torah, even when that Torah seems ancient, even when that Torah seems illogical, even when that Torah seems like it's against our interest. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu only created us to give us good. Created us to give us good. That good, only He knows what it is. What we think is good is sometimes good and sometimes bad. We're not really reliable. We've all made many mistakes, choosing something we thought was good only to find out that it was really bad. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't make bad choices.